This video is going to teach you how to fill out research and source cards. So on Google Classroom, there is an assignment for you. You can either choose to use this Google Doc or a different method. Google Keep is an option, or just paper is also an option. But this is here for you should you need it. On my Weebly, there are instructions for questions that you need to answer about note cards. So the purpose here, it is useful to take notes on index cards because it gives you the flexibility to change the order of your notes and group them together easily. It is a way to visualize your paper before you start writing. Oftentimes students will have paper copies of their notes, so should you decide to use this Google Doc, I would suggest printing your note cards out before we get to using them in class. But they take their notes and they just reorder them. Each individual note card, and they kind of group their note cards together and they decide which card they want to go where in their paper. It's really just an organizational method. Hypothetically, you should have all of your facts, if not more, written on note cards before you get to typing your actual essay. And then put your note cards in order in the way that you want those facts to appear in your essay, and then typing your actual essay is very quick if you've done the work beforehand. So there are two types of note cards. So the purpose of source cards is for you to write your bibliographic entry. That would be your APA citation that you would find through Citation Machine. It'd also discuss why your source is important to your paper. So basically why or how this information will later be used. This information will later be used for your annotated bibliography. You're not doing anything in this step that you're not going to be using later. It's important to know why your source is important because if you're writing a paper about, I don't know, schools banning cell phones and you find an article about gas prices in America, well, that's not important to your paper in the least. So it won't apply. So if your answer to why your source is important in your paper is, well, it's not important, well, then don't pull any facts from it. Ditch that source. Find a different one. You will also assign each source a number. I typically like to assign my sources numbers in order. It just helps me keep all my ducks in a row if I just go in order. The first source I find, the first source I pull information from, that is source number 1. The second source I find and pull information from is source number 2. Those numbers will be used on your research cards. So if you have source number 1 and you pull 10 facts from source number 1, you will write number 1 on every single research card. When you go back to typing your essay, you will know that all of those facts with source number 1 listed came from whichever source is source number 1, and you can avoid accidental plagiarism quite easily that way. So keep track of where you get your research. The research cards now. The purpose of a research card is for you to write a single fact or main point from a single source. So only one fact goes on each research card. I personally like to make these direct quotes. However, you do not have to. I would recommend that you make them direct quotes just in case you would like to use a direct quote later, then you have direct quotes on your research cards. You can always take those direct quotes and turn them into paraphrased information. You don't actually have to put the direct quote into your essay, but it's there for you if you want it. You'll also include a subtopic heading. A what? See below. Your main topic is obviously what your paper is about. So for example, if I'm writing my paper on banning cell phones in schools, that is the main topic, banning cell phones in schools. But you will have subtopics. If your main topic, banning cell phones in schools, you have smaller topics that go into that major topic. So your subtopics are smaller topics within your main topic. If your topic is banning cell phones in schools, your topics might be teachers' opinions, their use as educational resources, and how do you communicate with your mom and dad in school if you don't have your cell phone. Subtopics are created in order to help you organize your information. This is also an important note right here. When I start researching, I usually do not know what all my subtopics are going to be yet, but that's fine because you haven't researched, so you don't necessarily know what all your subtopics are going to be. As soon as I come across another piece of information that doesn't fit with any of my other subtopics, I create a new subtopic. When it comes to actually writing my paper, I probably will end up deleting some of those because maybe I don't have enough research on some of those subtopics, or I can take some of those smaller ones and combine them together, the ones that I don't have a lot of research on. So, beauty of subtopics helps you organize your paper. Okay, so the purpose of including the heading is for you to know exactly where this piece of information will present itself in your paper. So you know that if you're doing cell phones being banned in schools, all of the facts related to teachers' opinions on cell phones being banned, that would go in one paragraph in your paper or one section of your paper. You'll include the source code or number, which directly relates to your source card. So that's that number that you label your sources 1 through whatever of the source in which you located this information. The last thing you will include is a page number, if that is applicable. So if you go and you find PDFs online, oftentimes they have page numbers. Be sure you are accurate when you write down your quote or information. If you are writing down direct quotes, it needs to be written down exactly as it appears in your source. If you are writing down paraphrased information, the information that you put on that research card needs to be the information that was actually in that source. You can't take your own, or you can't put your own spin or your own take on any of that. Should you do that, you would have misinformation in your paper, and you don't want that. Other pieces of information that can be included: reasoning behind writing down the quote, further explanation, distinguishing between fact and opinions. Like this one, if you are reading an article and it's very opinion based, you would probably want to write on your research card that this was an opinion based article. Maybe you would end up not using that fact later. That is the purpose, and that is the basic how to put these note cards together. So if we go to our Google Doc, again, you don't have to use this Google Doc. You can do it on paper, you can do it on Google Keep, whatever, but you need to have this information in whatever format you would choose to do for your cards. So for the research card, you have a subtopic heading. That would be, for example, cell phones being banned in schools. My subtopic heading might be teachers' opinions on them, with a note. In this section, you will write down information from your sources. This may be a direct quote, a summary of information, a statistic, but remember, only one piece of information goes on each note card. So I chose to click on classroom texting and college students. And I'm reading this abstract here to kind of figure out what is this article about. And I can tell just by what's in that abstract that this article is probably scholarly, because somebody did their own research. They took their own group of students, asked their own questions. It's put out by the Department of Psychology at Ohio State University. That's another thing that tells me it's most likely scholarly. Let me just quickly check. Oh, yep, we have references, which also means that it is a scholarly piece. So I'm going to use this as my first source. So this looks like an interesting paragraph right here. Students reported that even when courses had a no phone policy, only 24.1% of the time that policy was always enforced. Future research should explore why faculty do not enforce their no phone policy, especially when it has been shown that cell phone use can affect student attention and performance on exams. So I'm going to take this one statistic I'm going to put it into my research card. I am going to put it in direct quotes so I know later that it's a direct quote. It's on page 515. Personal reflection. What are your thoughts on this fact? I think it's interesting that not a lot of teachers enforce the cell phone policy, so that's going to be my thoughts. I'm also going to ask myself a question. Maybe I can find information to this later. Do teachers really care if cell phones are used in their classes? Well, I don't know. So I did my research card. I can pull a ton of other facts out of here. I would probably also pull cell phone use has been shown to affect student attention and performance on exams. I would pull that as a fact. I think that's important to know that student attention in class is affected and that performance on exams is also affected by the texts that are being sent back and forth during class. So I would pull that, put that on a separate research card. But before I go much farther, because I pulled one fact from this source, I need to create a source card. I'm going to use this website to create my citation. So we're looking for APA format. When you get here, you need to pick which type of source it is. So mine is, it's a journal. Copyright of College Student Journal is the whatever. So that's how I know it's a journal. So I'm going to click journal. I'm going to try searching for it by the title. Sometimes you won't find it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. If you can't find it right away, just click manual entry mode. You'll be brought to a page that looks like this. You will put in your own information. So the article title, contributors, these are the authors. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 5. So I'm going to put in all my authors. The journal title, so this is not the article title, this is not this. The journal title is actually the title of the journal. Duh. So it is the College Student Journal. Advanced Info Volume Issue Series. Let's see if there's... does not look like that information is present. Year published. Over here, 2015. Pages. Starts on page 513 and ends on page 516. Date access was today. And create citation. There it is. We'll copy it, drop it in there. Just like that. Once I have that information in there, I'm going to fill in everything else. Author, last name, and first name. You know what? I'm just going to copy this. Put that in there. Citation Machine did the work for me already, so. Source number 1. Title of work. Oh, Citation Machine also did that for me already. Three questions to answer. Complete the following incomplete sentences. So the first one, summarize your source. This source main ideas is about cell phone use in class, and percentages. What percentage of students use phones in class, what percentage don't, that kind of thing. I think that pretty much sums it up. Evaluate the source, point out strengths and weaknesses of the source, discuss the methods and presentation used in the source, discuss the credibility of the authors, strengths and weaknesses. I thought it was good that they did their own research. Methods and presentations. Okay. Their method of obtaining this information was surveying a group of college students, and the credibility of the author of your source. Okay, I don't have a lot of information about these people. I have no information about these people other than the fact that this article was published through the Department of Psychology at Ohio State University. So that right there tells me that these people are credible, because a college is not just going to publish. They're not just going to publish stuff that hasn't been researched. Discuss the credibility of the author. These people are credible because their article was published through a college. And the third one, how will you use this information in this source in your own essay? So I believe this information will help establish cell phone use in college students. My essay is about banning cell phones in schools, and I'll be looking at colleges as well. So that's the answer to the first question. Second question, how will it be beneficial to your paper? I think it's important to draw parallels between high school and college, especially with things like this. You know, how do high school students react to having cell phones in class, and how do college students react? So I'm going to answer that question in that way of sorts. And that's it. I think the last thing I'm going to do is take my source card and move it to being above my research card. So I have my source card, and then all the research cards that I come up with after this are going to be from this source. When I find a new source, I will copy this and put in the information for the new source, and I will continue on that way. So, hope this was helpful. Best of luck researching.